until I figure out. Hello, this is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel. Um, oh crap. Can I stop? Hello, hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel. This season, we have the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series. And so I'm featuring different practitioners, a part of the series, and we're at the week of Leo. So we have our in-person practitioner with us, Garre Liana. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Phew, I'm doing great. I feel like everything's in hyperspeed, and at this point in time, we have not even had Pluto enter Aquarius yet.
I was
So
just about to say Pluto is about to enter Aquarius, so shit's gonna get real. It's already started. It's already started.
it's like instead of like it's like we're shifting frequencies.
Yeah, that energy is already very much here. So
Yeah. And that's the funny thing about energy, right? It's like it's fluid. There's no like box, like, oh, we aren't going to open door, go inside. No, it's just like, and the build up and the build up and the build up and launch.
yep. Well, thank you for having me on here. I'm super excited about this. So
thank you so
I'm
much for
honored.
being on here. Mer. So Leo week is super fun because it's all having to do with the love, leading with our heart, and of course, what naturally goes with our heart is art.
I agree.
And expressing ourselves. Um, so I just want to let's find out a little bit more about you how you got to where you're at on your journey now, and yeah.
Ooh, yeah, it has been a ride. It's been a journey. So I've really only been on this path for about since I started my yoga practice, probably in about 2017. And before then, I was always into making art. So that was that's always been one constant in my life is, um, I ever since I was young, my favorite classes were art classes. I always really did well in school, but my art classes are what they were like my refuge. Because even though I did really well in school, I didn't really enjoy school, especially when I got up into high school. I love learning. I love reading. I love learning. It was just like I was kind of like the weird art kid outcast. And so like I didn't have a lot of friends. And I had my like good friends. I had like my few good friends, and that was enough for me. But like they didn't go to the same high school. So I had, in high school I was just kind of like a loner. So I spent a lot of time in the art room. Um so and then it wasn't until later, like within the past probably few years, that I realized that that was my spiritual practice. I was doing a spiritual practice was my art that I was doing like the entire time, like in high school and stuff like that. So but we'll get to that. So um so that's one thing that's been really constant. It's constant is art. I've always enjoyed doing it. I've always been really good at it. It's just been a natural gift. Um I went to college in and by the way, in high school, I did win a bunch of awards for my artwork. I worked on a movie. Um my art was up in like the governor's building or some big building in Columbus, Ohio, and an
Wow.
art director looked at like found my work and contacted me. And she's the same art director that did Garden State with Zach Braff. But it was a movie called Speak. And it wasn't a very big movie, but it was like based on a book that like high schoolers read, and it was a like a made for TV movie or something like that. It was like, but anyway, I ended up doing the artwork for that movie. And that was a really cool experience. Um, and then I went to college and got a degree in fine arts with a minor in art history because I loved learning about art history. And then I got married, and after my senior show, I pretty much just stopped doing art altogether for probably almost 10 years.
Oh
Completely
my
stopped
gosh.
because I just hit a point where I think I don't know, it just didn't, I wasn't enjoying it anymore, is what happened. And I was just like, I just totally denied being an artist. I'm like, I'm not an artist. I don't enjoy this anymore, so I'm not going to do it anymore. And so I
Wow.
stopped. And I think a lot of it too is that I got distracted. Um, and I started like, I was drinking a lot during at the time, and like I just, just did random things. I was really living with like no awareness. Um, and then we moved, my ex-husband and I moved to Florida, and so that he could do his thing down here. And then we ended up splitting up, and moved up to Columbus because that's where my family is. And that's when I got into yoga. Like I was in like a really dark place. Like the way my marriage ended was really not happy. It was really dark. And I was just not in a good place. But one thing that I was doing, and I hadn't gotten back into art yet, but one thing I was doing was selling Beachbody.
What is
Uh,
that?
Beachbody is like, it's like one of those like MLM companies that like
Oh,
you're selling like, and like the video, like the actual products were good. Like I was actually doing them while I was selling them. So they were good, and I did believe in it when I was doing it. Um, and it also like created a foundation for me of like personal development. So even
mm,
though I was like going through this really dark time, I was reading a lot of books on personal development and leadership and like leading a team and all this stuff. So I was doing that. And then I found yoga. Like I was posting all the time. Part of like being in that kind of company is you're posting on social media a lot. You're trying to get people to join your thing, what you're doing.
mm.
And I had a woman who I didn't even go to school with her. I just knew of her through friends, but she was always really sweet. Like I said, I didn't know her very well. She was like, "Hey, do you want to come to a yoga class with me for free?" And I'm like, "Cool, yeah, I'll go to a yoga class. I'm into like fitnessy type stuff." So I went into my first yoga class, and I just like, it was just so healing. And of course, at first, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a good stretch and I'm going to get a good workout. Um, and then I was just really consistent with it because it felt so good. I was trying to go like every single day. And it just turned into like a completely different thing. It wasn't just a physical practice anymore. It's a spiritual practice. And that's what it turned into for me. And so I ended up getting my teacher training certification and like right away started teaching after that. And so that's what set that whole like spiritual journey in motion was, which I think it happens for a lot of people is you're in a dark place, you find something that feels good. Hopefully it's something good like yoga that like you puts you on like a spiritual path, helps you build self-awareness, helps you build consciousness. Um, And so and so ever since then, this was back in 2018 when I actually started teaching. I was also personal training at the time. Um, and then I found a woman in Columbus, Ohio, she's my mentor now, Rachel Bertner. She is amazing. I've been mentoring with her every week for probably four years now. But
Wow.
I, I had taken a couple of her workshops, and one of the workshops, or probably more than a couple, I've taken probably like five of her workshops at this point. But one of her biggest workshops, or a couple of her biggest workshops that she teaches, is an understanding the layers of trauma workshop that it lasts like the whole
Mm,
weekend. It's like a 10-hour workshop. And I was like, I need this because I had a lot of like trauma with my marriage, and there was like
mm.
abuse and stuff like that. So I took her workshop, and it just like, I was like, this woman is gonna like help save my life. Like she's going to help me like facilitate healing for me. And that's what happened. And I've been working with her methodology ever since. But one of the things that how this relates back to art is one of the things that she had me do, because we talk a lot about the planets and we talk a lot about energy and we talk a lot about what's happening in the sky. And I think this was about 2, maybe 3 years ago. Venus was going retrograde, I think, for 40
Okay.
days. And she said, she's like, this is a challenge for you. When Venus goes retrograde for 40 days, you're going to do something every single day. What is that thing? Like, what is it that you want to work on? What is that you want to get back to? And I was like, I'm going to draw every single day. And she's like, cool. That's even better. Do a creative practice. So I did every single day when Venus was in retrograde, I drew, except for one day. And that day, I taught breath work at a CBD store. The guy who owned the store gave me what I thought were just CBD tablets, and it turned out there was THC in them, and I do not do well on THC.
Yeah, me
Um,
either.
so that night, I was able to like effectively teach breath work, and then it kicked in right after that, and I was like not okay. So I just went home and went to bed that day. But every other day, so 39 days out of the 40 days, I drew. And it was mostly self-portraits, my hands, my eyes, things like that.
You
My
drew in the
dog.
ethers.
Yeah. And so that's when like it came back to me. I started to remember who I was. I started to remember
Wow.
like this focused woman that I was in high school. Because when I was in high school, I was like, I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to make it as an artist. I'm going to like have gallery shows. I'm going to have an art openings. I'm going to like do all this stuff. And that's all I did. I made art. I slept. I watched movies, but everything that I did was informing my art. It was informing what I was doing
Yeah.
with my art. And so it that all came back to me. And then I started watching movies that I was used to watch back then. And I was like, whoa, like the feeling started to come back. And
Mm.
then I just kept doing it. I was consistent with it. And then I met a friend, my friend Ezra, who now is like an artist in St. Pete. He does line drawings. I know you know him.
I know him very briefly. I'd love to get to know him more.
Yeah, he's such a light. He's super awesome. And the cool thing about him was he was actually one of my clients. I personal trained him for like a year and a half or 2 years or something like that.
Oh, wow.
But we started hanging out, and when I first met him, he was doing some kind of like therapy work, but he had really, really bad sciatic pain. So when he was in the car, it was like excruciating sciatic pain, and he hired me to help him get him out of pain, which we did. And like, he's like so much better now. But um, he ended up quitting his job because he just could, I think he was driving like an hour to and from work, and it was just like it was unbearable. So he quit his job and he just started drawing. And at this point, he was more consistent at drawing than I was. I was doing like commissions here and there. I was like, trying to draw where I could, but it's not my full-time job. So I was still like, doing clients or having clients and teaching classes. And um, he just started drawing and just like putting it out there. And I was like, if this is not, and it was received so well. Like he's selling his art now in like all kinds of shops in St. Pete. He's been
Wow.
a part of like he's been asked to be in shows, like big shows with a lot of big St. Pete artists. And he just manifested that. He just started drawing and putting it out there. I mean, he's a very creative person. He's got a very creative mind. Um, but it was just so cool. And I was like, if this is not the universe telling me that like I need to do this. Like I just need to like do my art and put it out there. And he just had no fear around that, which I thought was really cool. And so that was really, really inspiring. And it still is with him. He's still very much that's what he does now is he's a full-time artist. Um, so that was another big thing that inspired me to start creating again. And um so now I'm going to be a part of a show at Driftwood. I've been a part of a few
Oh,
shows already in St. Pete. I do commissions for people right now. I have a whole separate Instagram for my art. A lot of the stuff that I do is photorealistic. Um,
really
so
good too.
thank you.
It's
Um,
incredible.
thank you. So, but it's funny because I'm so like technical because a photorealistic artist, everything has to be like perfect and it really exercises my perfectionism, which can get really like just monotonous and
It's when
like
Leo turns into Virgo.
yes, exactly. It's like when Leo gets like amped in the other direction, like not the right, the positive. Which is interesting because I'm a Virgo sun in my Vedic chart. But anyway,
Okay. Oh, right,
so
Libra. Okay, I was the whole
yeah.
time I was like, I know this. Like I was going head wise, and I was like, I really just need to tune energetically. That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a Leo rising actually. So when this is I'm like, oh yeah, I know the Leo energy. So I was getting to a point where I was like, I'm just not, and this is the wall that I hit like a long time ago where I was like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. I just don't enjoy this anymore. It's
Mhm.
because like one of the big things that I learned in yoga is as I grow and as I progress, so is what I'm doing. So the
Mhm.
teacher that I was when I first started teaching, I'm not the same teacher right now because I'm not the same person right now.
Right.
And it goes the same with any creative practice that you have. It grows along with you. So what I started doing drawing wise in the beginning is not the same thing I should be working on right now. I'm sure elements of it, of course will come along, but it'll change. And if you look at any artist's life, you'll see that like progression or that growth. Um, and so what I realized just recently, and this is where this class has come in and it has been like timing has been perfect for it, is like dropping out of my head and into my body, painting more or drawing more intuitively. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's great for me to I'm really good at the really technical, like I can make a person look like a person and um or whatever. So, but that's not always enjoyable. So I either have to balance it out with like more intuitive drawing from the heart, or
Yeah.
I have to figure out how to mix the two. But this has been like a big practice for me because I'm just not my journey is different. I'm just on a I've progressed. And a lot of what I'm doing now is tuning into my intuition, working on my psychic abilities, working on like just doing stuff from my heart more than ever. So I'm super excited about the class that I'm going to be leading.
I'm very
Um,
excited. You know,
yeah.
it's funny you mentioned progress. Like the whole time I was thinking before you said the word progress, I was like, I wonder what her progress chart looks like now.
Mm,
And I'm gonna kind of touch upon this because it's like really great for our listeners or viewers to kind of put this together for themselves. Like, um, so you have a birth chart, and the sun, like let's just use our sun as an example. Like you have so many other planets and in the sky at different places when you're born. But let's just say for you, your sun is in Libra, right? From the Western perspective. And so um there are 30 degrees to a transit. Like when it fully, you know, then it goes into the next sign. So that 0 to 29. So let's just say you were born at, I don't know, 13 degrees Libra. I don't know the answer to that, but we can look. Let's just say, have you ever heard of a Saturn return?
yes. I know when my
Okay.
Saturn return was.
So what's interesting is like every 29 and a half years, we start to have major life changes. And it's the reason why that is if we look at, for instance, the sun it has 30 degrees it goes through, but it goes day by day, right? So if we translate that into like, where are we at our 30-year mark in our sun? We're actually 1 degree, or sorry, we're one sign over completely. So that means you would actually be encountering in your life through the sun's energy Scorpio at 13 degrees.
Mm.
And every year we progress 1 degree and we start walking. And so we're naturally encountering new things all the time. The same type of flow goes for the rising. It's a day at a time, or like a year at a time, we get another degree point, in our chart. So it's super interesting. I'm curious to see how where your rising is and where your sun is as you've been feeling all of these different energies. I love looking like I'm yes, you can predict things and whatnot with astrology. That's not really my style because I don't really like to go into the future that much of like, what can I get or what's going to happen. But it is nice to look back and process everything. Why,
Yeah.
what came up, because that's really powerful for personal development, you know?
Yeah.
And it also gives you some insight on, oh, well, if this is how things roll, I wonder what will happen in the future. Not like, let me see what it is, but it's like I can kind of like I'm more aware of the process, and it's like, oh, that's so unique. That just happened. That makes a lot of sense, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if that resonates.
No, it does. And I've done some of that work. Like I just actually the end of or last this past December, I got
Yeah.
a Vedic astrology reading, and a lot of the stuff that she said like really matched up. And like I've gotten a Western astrology reading like a few months ago, and I'm about to I just entered my Saturn transit for the next 19 years, which
Okay.
is like kind of tough. Lots of learning of lessons in the next 19 years. And I'm like, okay, I can feel it coming. And then my Western astrology said, she told me that my Pluto is squaring my natal Pluto next month. And then my
Oh wow.
Neptune is squaring, which like Pluto squaring Pluto is like dark night of the soul kind of things, which I'm like really comfortable with that energy. So I don't know how affected I'm going to be by that. But then like my Neptune is squaring my natal Neptune, which is in April in a few months. And that's like Vision Quest kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, 2024, let's go.
That's beautiful though, because it's like you said next, well, I guess you'll have this class first and then you'll start heading into that energy. And
Yeah.
like, it's unique. The flows are just kind of going here. So I'm just gonna go here. Why not? Like in the class, we're gonna be really going through the Leo energy. And part of Leo energy, it's all about the sun, it's all about the light, it's about the love, it's the heart, right? But anytime you talk about light, there's darkness.
Yes.
There's the opposite, the polarity. And so it's like it's very unique. I would love for you to walk us through the class a little bit.
Okay.
And you know, I kind of go with the flow on things.
Yeah.
And we can always double back, but I would love to go through the flow of how we're gonna be exploring Leo through a art setting
Yeah.
and how light is, like those energies are a part of it.
Yeah, so I think the good place to start, as you said, you can't have light without darkness.
Yeah.
And where there's the most darkness, there's the most light will be revealed. Almost like what's the saying? Like it's always darkest before the dawn or something like that.
Yeah.
So keeping that in mind, the very start of the class is going to be since I teach breath work and I teach meditation, we're going to go through some breath work. Um, and it's going to be activating breath work that is going to like move stuff around. So if
Yeah.
anything is like stuck, or if energy just needs to be released somewhere. Because a lot of times that just keeps us stuck. Like whatever energy is stuck in our bodies comes out into our, as within, so without. So it comes out in our worlds, in our outside world. So, you know, we are not a culture that knows how to, we're all in the minds. Like we're all logical. We want to logic and think our way through everything. And if you're, on a spiritual path, that spirit, there's no logic around it. You have to get into your heart. So, or get into your body. And so that's what I
Yeah.
always tell clients, get out of your head and into your body, get into your feeling body, get into your heart and lead from there. And, in my own journey, it's still sometimes hard to do that. Because I'm not trained to do that. Most of my life I didn't do that. So I'm learning to do that more. So the breath work, what that does is just kind of gives you a reset. It gets things moving around. Hopefully, it'll get some things unstuck that are stuck. It'll get you into a place where you're not thinking so much. So maybe out of your head, it'll get you into maybe a more spiritual place. You'll feel probably a little buzzy, like a little high, which is all normal. Everyone's safe. This is a safe way to breathe. I'm leading everybody through some safe breathing. It's kind of like getting high on your own supply kind of vibes. But it facilitates a release and it facilitates a mind clearing. And then
Mm.
I'll guide everyone through a visualization where I don't know exactly off the top of my head what it's going to be, but it will center around coming into the heart, like getting into your heart space. And then from there, everybody will wake up. And then from that space, we're going to try to hold the space and then we're going to draw from there. So whatever comes up. So it's going to be like intuitive drawing, um, which means like you're not thinking hard. You're not thinking about it. Maybe you're just putting color on paper. Maybe you're putting shapes down. Maybe you see symbols, or maybe you see images of something and you're just putting that down on paper. Like you're putting whatever's inside here down on paper.
Mm.
And that's the whole point of it. It doesn't even need to make sense. It doesn't have to be like this, like, you don't have to make a tree look like a tree. It just is whatever is in your heart, you're putting it down. And I've found that that's not only a great way, it's kind of like stream of consciousness writing, but it's like stream of consciousness art.
Mm.
Um, and I've found that the more you practice that, you're getting what's inside out on paper, and a lot of amazing things can come from that, like ideas, or you're practicing listening to your own heart and your own intuition, and your own higher self, and not being in the thinking brain too much. So that's the idea, to facilitate like this art. And if you do it on a regular basis, you'll kind of see, like I said, so many things can come out of it. It's just so awesome. It's an awesome practice.
It's so unique. Being an artist myself, and how the mind can play a role, and like when you want to do art, essentially. So I started off with like doing oil paintings and stuff like that. And there's a certain level of like planning out what you want to do, you know? Um, but when I started to get into, it was actually 2017, 2018 when I started to pick up art again. Um, and I wanted to kind of be in tune, right? And just allow whatever to come out. There's like this flow of consciousness that came out. And it's like two different versions or something, or two different pathways of art in a way. Because like I often felt like with art, I'm never gonna be able to put what I truly want in here. You know, there's something that's holding me back, and I can actually feel it in two different ways in that process, you know? One from a planning out perspective, and another from like, okay, can I go deep enough? As of course, Scorpio sun here. I I can't do anything surface level. Like it's just not possible for me. Like I can't, I don't even know how to try, you know? And so and then of course the Cancer moon comes in, and it's like, you want it, there has to be that feeling to it, you know? There has to be something that feels special of why. And so it's like I'm actually really excited for this particular class because I feel like for a little bit now, I haven't picked up any like art since last year. Well, obviously we just started the year, but maybe probably since I was in Israel, I haven't done a drawing or anything. And yeah, I know I've been working on other things and stuff like that, but there's a certain level of like, I just did so much like channeling of, artwork. I put out an entire whole thing in like 2018 through 2020, and I'm ready for my next step. And I feel like there's some blockages in there
Mm,
because I'm afraid of where it's going to go in a way, you
mm.
know? Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It's like this, like, I don't know. I feel like it's like tapping into the primordial energy. And so it's like I'm really excited to see where this goes, because even if you are a trained artist, this is such a good class for you, because it's like you, it, it can activate something new, activate
Absolutely.
something that's deep.
Yeah. And honestly, it's more about the process. It's more about what you get. It's more about accessing the depths and digging up the bones than it is about the final product. Don't even worry about that. It's about the process of like what you're going to find and what you're going to dig up, and not being afraid of that. And it might not happen in one painting class. It might. I hope it does. Um, but this it's more about tapping into those depths than it is about what you're going to end up putting on the paper.
Mm,
So, and that's what I've learned, like that's what art is. Like I've gotten so caught up in the perfectionism of like this has to look and it's like that's
yeah.
why I wasn't connecting with it, because I wasn't connecting with the process. I wasn't connecting with like what it was digging up in me and how it was making me feel. I was too focused on the end result. And it's like, you don't even know what the end result's going to be. So stop. Like, just focus on here right now. This is a
Yeah.
meditation. What I'm doing, what am I getting out of it right now? And that's really what it's about.
It's the other thing, because when we talk about Leo, there's like lots of different you know archetypes of Leo, and different words we can use. The ego is one that comes
Mm,
up, and I feel like this is definitely a space where you can safely address like the ego. And it's like, instead of like, because like the ego's not bad, that's the thing.
yeah.
Ego, it's just like, how can you guide it to its fullest potential? The winged ego, I don't know, you know and it's more of like, how can we center that to more of like an authenticity,
Yeah.
and as I like the journal I wrote, I was talking to my friend, who I had look at everything, and she's like, for Leo, for some reason, I kept getting the word authenticity come through, and
Yeah.
I needed to share that with you. And I'm like, I'm glad you did. Another Libra.
Yeah.
And because that's a huge, huge piece to Leo energy.
Yes. And I love that. It's like, and this, again, this is like perfectly placed time wise, because this is what I'm working on right now is like, even in my yoga classes, not just in my art, in my yoga classes, it's so easy to get caught up when you're teaching a group of people in, are they going to like me? Am I going to teach a good class and make it all about me? And it's like, stop. You know the practice. You're an effective teacher. Get your ego out of the way. Just be a channel. Just be a mirror. Read what it is that. And so it's being authentic. And I've been told I have have students who are like, you're one of the most authentic teachers. So like that's the other side of it. I think there's that ego that gets in the way. Like I'm like, oh, it's not about me, but I make it about me. And then can I get the ego out of the way to be authentic and just to teach it this practice, which I trust in an authentic way and just be the channel for that. And so it's the same thing with this Leo energy, with this drawing is getting the ego out of the way, like I said, like not worrying about what the outcome, what it's going to look like, not getting in your head of like, oh my gosh, or the fear, and actually coming into, I'm just going to be a channel for my authentic self, and that's the practice.
Mm, mm. I love that. I'm
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
excited. I'm so excited for this class. You know,
Me
it's
too.
funny. Uh, Gary and I actually met at Enchanted Spirits. That's actually the location where our Moonology class is going to be. And we actually talked in one of the like we did a psychic development class with Kit, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, magic always happens during those, especially kids classes.
Mm-hmm.
I met a very dear friend, and through that class, and something always is like, whoa. And so like I'm so glad I met you because like, when I was channeling all of that stuff, I just let go, right? I'm like, I feel art, I feel a podcast. Why is that even together? What the heck? And here we are. Like,
Yeah.
what?
I know.
and we, and you reached out to me and I didn't even think about that. Like it didn't even cross my mind of like, oh, because I didn't even realize that was you.
Yeah.
And I had already had this. So it's so beautiful to see that, as this process, as we keep developing ourselves, source, spirit, energy takes us where we're meant to go when we let go.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's like another piece that's being taught here with this art class is like once we let go, we'll be guided through that
Yeah.
entire process. And it
Absolutely.
it it can feel it can feel like a loss of control in a way, but it's like recentering that. It's like this isn't leading.
Mm-hmm.
This is leading. That does not mean this is disqualified.
Yeah.
It's 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 paired.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like, can you use this? Can you use this to lead? And this is useful to like just maybe this is translating for this, not the other way around.
Mhm.
Like this is used for like discernment and whatever, but like this will never lead you wrong. Your mind leads you wrong. I'll use I statements. My mind leads me the wrong way, has for, a long time. But once I started dropping into my body and my heart, and it's not perfect. I'm
Mhm.
still on the journey. But the more I let go, the more I the more I let go, the more I'm held, the more I'm guided. And so
Yeah.
that's absolutely what this Leo class is about is leading. And yeah, it sometimes can be scary and it can feel like a loss of control. But can you just, so what? Like, can you just like let that
Yep.
happen and just see what happens? Because like, what's the worst that could possibly happen if you let go of control for a little while in an art class? Like
Yeah.
maybe some stuff that will come up that that needs to be in your vision right now, and that could change your life.
Yeah. We often say when we make plans, like God laughs. It's because when we start to like tap into the loss of control being like we're taking it higher, we're taking it to or deeper, there's a mirror here. Like the depths is our connection with the creator. And that's really part of the series. And as we do that, like the compass comes online for us and we're taken to places that we couldn't even dream of because we don't have all the answers. We might think we do sometimes, and I'm guilty of that, absolutely. But there's no way, like this, like if you think about the creation process from a divine creator perspective, like everything that goes into it, the creation of the world, the creation of this human vessel, then this is just the meat suit. And then there's this whole other, like aspect of things of the soul. And that's we're like we're we're coming online to that spark in this class. That spark that like we then for cancer really develop the soul, you know? And so I kind of want to take us a little bit into what the series is for anyone who maybe missed an intro class or anything. Um, how this, if you want a deeper journey, if you want um, you know a space for about 4 months to just let go and allow and try something new, like one thing that I've noticed when talking to people, they're like, I don't know anything about the zodiac energies. That's okay. You don't need to know a darn thing. Just show up and
Great way to
be.
learn.
It's
The
like
best way to
I
learn.
actually I prefer you know nothing, but please, if you do know something, that's okay too. You know, eh, because we're going and working through the raw energies. We have 12 weeks that we're going through a specific model that was created by Chris Witecki, and it's connected to the numerology, like our 0 to 11. Yes, we have 29 degrees. We're not getting that far into it. But we're getting the first step, the first section of it. And that's the thing. It's like if we look back, this is definitely a we're uncovering the model that, energetically, that the creator of the universe used and we use every single day. Babies are born every single day. It goes through the same. And it's the birthing process. And there's so much beauty behind that. So like there's so much depth to this series, but you can experience it in a very light way. Not the head knowledge. And I mean like the difference between heavy and light. We just let go and we experience the different activities. And then, if you end up getting like something like the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series journal for 2024, every single class has questions catered towards, what your experiences are. And so you get to write them down and keep track. And I'm guilty of this so much. I tend to not write things down anymore because I'm so in the embodied mode, and sometimes it is a good idea to write things down just for the reminder, because we can flow through life and that's great, but there's some we're on this earth. It's a practical, tangible place, and even though we're activating Pluto with its Aquarius codes and lifting higher into a new frequency, um, we can still have a grounded process with that. And so, I hope I didn't speak in too many circles about the series because there's so much complexity to it. But part of this is also getting to know new people, doing new things. Maybe we thought we never do. Because, like, I mean, I didn't think a year ago to go do a goat yoga class. I didn't even know that was a freaking thing. Like, what the heck? I didn't think about like putting this entire series together so that, we can all come together, whether it's online through Zoom and connect the world together, or like several different locations all over Tampa Bay. Like, I am finding new places and I'm like, oh, cool. I'd like to hang out there. Like, went to the place where Gemini class is going to be, 620, which is around the corner from where our class will be, the Morian Art Center. I went to a poetry reading. I said, oh my God, this would be a
Where?
perfect
At
place
where?
for the studio at 620.
Okay. I don't know if I've been there or not, but
It's 1 block away. So like Morian Art Center is like central, right? But it's at probably like 7th Street.
okay.
So like 1 block down, but on First Avenue South,
Okay.
heading towards the water. And
Yeah.
so, like, didn't even know about that space. I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't even know if I'd get any locations in St. Pete. Yeah, now there's two. But this series, again, it's not, you're not committed to the whole series, but I will say, from my perspective, I want to do all the classes. Thank God I am doing all of the classes because
Yeah.
I'm like, they're so fun.
I'm going to try to do as many as I possibly can.
And you get a 50% discount
Yeah.
because you're a practitioner.
Woohoo.
But um before we close out, I just want to reiterate, our class is at the Morian Art Center on Monday, the 29th of January, from 6:30. It's
Yeah.
6:30.
I think
Okay,
it's
great.
30 days.
8:30. Yes. 6:30, 8:30. I was like, man, I don't have it in front of me, except I do, but I just didn't cheat. Um and all the supplies will be supplied for you. I just ordered most of them.
Cool.
Here's your reminder.
I didn't even let her know that yet. And if you have any questions, you can find everything on my website at energyspeaksbycatriel.com. It has a classes button, where you can look at the entire Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series. There's the in-person track and the online, and there's the events. So if you want to go directly to the events, you can drop down and get your ticket. It's $50 for this class, and I feel like that's a steal for all of the wisdom that we're going to be tapping into. Anything you want to say more about that?
And you get to take away your own piece of art so that you can hang up and it'll be like maybe hopefully the start to your heart art or soul painting journey.
I love it. And we'll be working with pastels. The chalk pastels and the oil pastels. I've ordered both. And just to let you guys know, there are only 15 slots. So get your tickets quick. Get them now. See how
This
well the
class
sales
is
were.
filling up, was going to fill up. So I'm like really going to talk to people, and I know a lot of people who are interested. So
Brilliant. And on the website, it takes PayPal, regular cards, lots of, yeah, it's easy to get. I don't know, I lost my word there. And before we close, I just want to say thank you. And if you could also let our listeners and viewers know how they can reach you other than my website, and your offerings.
yeah, so I do all kinds of offerings in St. Pete. Especially this year, I'm really working on offering more workshops. But at the moment, I'm teaching classes at Yoga 6 in St. Pete on 4th Street. Um, and then I'm teaching a women's group once a month at Beyond Poses Yoga. I teach breath work once a month right now at your CBD store, St. Pete, all that changes. So I guess like because I don't have like set dates for most of this stuff, it's kind of like I schedule my workshops based on what the moon and the planets are doing.
That's
So
awesome.
it's not the same every month, but you can reach out to me through, probably the best way is my Instagram, which is Garre Liana 84. It's GarreLiana 84. And that's Instagram. Facebook is just Garre Liana. It's Garre space Liana. And then my email too is GarreLiana84 at yahoo.com. So um those are probably the best ways to get a hold of me. If you dig deep enough, like in my Instagram, I think you'll come across my website. My website is GarreLianaYoga.com, www.GarreLianaYoga.com. I think in there my phone number might be in there. Um, so there are different ways that you can get a hold of me. I also offer private sessions, which I have a big client base. I do It's basically energy. I'm also a Reiki master. I do breath work, but I every single person that I work with, I do something different with, based on what it is that they're working on and what it is that what they need. So I use
Mm,
the yoga kosha model, which is, the koshas in yoga are the layers. So it's like you have your higher self or your soul, and then you have the layers on top of that that kind of like block you from that. So you have a
mm,
physical body layer, you have an energetic layer, which, or like a breath layer, you have an emotional layer, you have a mental layer. And all that means is like, for the energetic layer, we'll do breath work, we'll do energy work. For the emotional layer, um, breath work could work for that too. Like journaling, meditation, recognizing patterns in your life, in order to change them. What kind of stories are you telling yourself? Inner child work. I mean, it
mm.
ranges a whole lot of things. So, and everybody starts at a different kosha. Most people start at a physical layer. And then I use the 8 limbs of yoga to make that happen. So it's like, basically you tell me what the kind of person you want to be, and then I make a plan for you we make a plan together for you to get there. Um, so I mainly work with teenagers. I've worked with teenagers in juvenile detention centers and residential, because I'm also a trauma-based yoga healer. And I work with women, mainly women who are like getting out of marriages, or women who need to like connect with their inner selves and all that kind of stuff. So those are the two main clientele. That was a lot. So
That's
um
amazing.
I
You're a
use a
personal
bunch of tools.
transformation
Yeah, yeah,
coach.
right. Exactly,
And
pretty
you
much.
and you also have an art Instagram, correct? That you can
I
see
do
all your
my
beautiful art.
Yes. So my art Instagram is at GARRE dot LIANA dot art. And that's yeah, that's my art account. So yeah, if you want to check out what I'm doing, please do. And I would love to check out what you're doing. So I know,
Mer.
Cocktail, like your work, your soul painting also really inspired me. So like that was
Aw.
also, I was like, oh, cool. Like, you know. So anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited to practice this. Thank you so, so much for like having me on here and for like guiding this class. I'm so excited.
Mer, thank you so, so much. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so glad that we met,
Me
that
too.
enchanted spirits, and then that activated this. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it
And I want to
is.
say thank you all, divine, beautiful souls, for listening, tuning in, and watching. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Scott Triel, and our guest, Gary Liana.
Bye.